Hello and welcome to our latest video. On this channel, we delve into the powerful testimonies of individuals who have encountered near death and other profound spiritual experiences. Today, we're exploring the story of Mateo Ramirez, who claims to have died, met a divine being, and received a crucial message about what lies ahead. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and feel free to drop a comment with your name and city below. Now, let's hear Mateo's remarkable testimony. Hi, my name is Mateo Ramirez, and I'm here to share with you a story that completely transformed my life. It's a tale of loss, transformation, and hope. This all began a few years ago, though the memories are as fresh as if they happened just yesterday. To give you some background, I was born and raised as an only child in a humble but loving family. My father, Señor Alberto Ramirez, was my hero and my guiding light. He taught me the value of integrity, hard work, and the importance of family. Sadly, my mother passed away when I was just a child, so my father raised me on his own. For much of my life, I was consumed by my career, climbing the corporate ladder at the cost of my health and relationships. I believed that professional success was the key to a fulfilling life. But the events I'm about to recount showed me just how wrong I was. Today, I'm a changed man. I'm married to Elena Sanchez, the most wonderful woman I've ever known, and together we have a beautiful son. We live in a cozy apartment, not fancy, but it's filled with love and happiness. I've learned to appreciate the simple things in life, moments with my family, good health, and peace of mind. Now it's early June 2022, and I sense that something significant is on the horizon. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I have a strong feeling that this month will bring about major changes, not just for me, but for humanity as a whole. It's an odd sensation, a mix of nervousness and anticipation that stays with me every day. The story I'm about to share begins with my father's illness and ends with an experience that challenged everything I thought I knew about life and death. It's a journey of self-discovery, a connection with the divine, and a new understanding of what truly matters in this life. My hope is that by sharing my story, I might touch your hearts and perhaps inspire a fresh perspective on life. So let's begin at the start. Get ready for a journey that transcends the physical world, a journey that led me to the brink of the afterlife and back, forever altering my view of life, death, and everything in between. It all started when my father was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The news was a crushing blow to both of us. My father, who had always been so full of life and strength, suddenly seemed fragile and vulnerable. Watching the man I had always seen as invincible weaken day by day in the hospital was one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure. I visited him almost every day, trying to maintain a calm and positive demeanor, forcing smiles and speaking of happier times, even though my heart was breaking. I wanted to give him some hope, some comfort in his final days, but inside I was falling apart. The weeks dragged on, each day feeling more unbearable than the last. The sterile smell of the hospital, the relentless beeping of the machines, and the sympathetic glances from the medical staff, all of it is etched into my memory, something I will never forget. There's one night that stands out in my mind. I was sitting by my father's bedside, holding his hand as he slept. His breathing was shallow and labored. As I gazed at his face, worn by time and illness, I allowed myself to cry silently. In that moment, the full weight of the situation hit me, the cruel reality of life taking my father away. That night, my father briefly awoke, and for the first time in weeks, there was a clarity in his eyes. He grasped my hand weakly and said, "Mateo, my son, do not be afraid. Death is just a doorway to another place. I will always be with you." Those words stayed with me, even though at the time I didn't fully grasp their significance. The days that followed were a whirlwind of medical tests, doctor visits, and endless hours spent at my father's bedside. I felt utterly powerless, unable to ease his pain. All I could do was be there, offering what little comfort I could in his final moments. Then one night in November, my father finally passed away. I was right there, holding his hand as he took his last breath. It was a moment filled with profound sadness, but also a strange sense of peace. His suffering was over, but mine had only just begun. In the days that followed, I was consumed by the practicalities of death, organizing the funeral, dealing with paperwork, informing friends and family. Each task felt like an insurmountable mountain, but somehow I managed to keep going, one step at a time. The funeral itself was a blur, a sea of familiar faces and comforting words that barely registered. All I could think about was that my hero, my rock, was gone forever. Or so I thought. After the funeral, I fell into a deep period of mourning. The days dragged on and I felt completely adrift. My father's absence was like a black hole, sucking all the joy and purpose out of my life. I threw myself into work, hoping that long hours at the office would fill the void, but nothing seemed to help. Around this time, I began having vivid dreams about my father. At first, these dreams were confusing and fragmented. I saw him at different stages of his life, sometimes young and full of life, other times old and frail, as he was in his final days. But in every dream, he wore that same loving smile I knew so well. One dream in particular has stayed with me. In it, my father and I were fishing together, just as we used to when I was a child. The lake was calm, the sky a brilliant blue. My father looked at me and said, "Life is like this lake, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but there's always something waiting to be discovered in its depths." These dreams were both comforting and heartbreaking. On one hand, it was soothing to see my father again, to feel his presence, even if only in my dreams. But on the other hand, each time I woke up, the reality of his loss hit me all over again. I began to wonder if these dreams held a deeper meaning. Was my father trying to tell me something? There were moments when I could almost feel his presence in the room when I woke up, as if he were watching over me. Meanwhile, my personal life was unraveling. My relationship with Isabel, my girlfriend at the time, was strained. I became distant, retreating into my own world of grief. Isabel tried to reach out, to comfort me, but I had built walls around myself that seemed impossible to penetrate. It was Isabel who eventually convinced me to seek help. I started therapy, a difficult but necessary journey. Slowly, I began to process my grief, to understand that it is a journey, not a destination. The dreams of my father continued, but they began to change. Now, instead of simply reliving memories, it felt like my father was guiding me. In one particularly vivid dream, he led me to a glowing door. "It's not time for you to cross yet," he said, "but remember this door. One day, you'll understand." At the time, I didn't realize it, but this dream was a prelude to something much bigger. That glowing door would appear in my life again, in a way I could never have imagined. As the months passed, I slowly began to heal. The pain of loss was still there, but it wasn't as overwhelming. I started to find joy in small things again, the taste of a good meal, the pleasure of a walk outside, the comfort of Isabel's embrace. But something within me had fundamentally shifted. I was no longer the same man who had once been consumed by career ambitions and the pursuit of material success. My father's passing forced me to confront my own mortality and to reevaluate what truly mattered in life. Little did I know, I was about to experience something that would completely transform my perspective on life, death, and everything in between. It was on an otherwise ordinary evening after a grueling day at work when everything changed. I was at home, utterly exhausted after another long stretch at the office. Isabel had gone out for some shopping, and I was alone in the apartment. I remember being in the kitchen, making a simple sandwich, when suddenly, a wave of overwhelming dizziness washed over me. The world around me began to spin, colors swirling into a disorienting blur. I tried to steady myself by grabbing onto the kitchen counter, but my legs buckled. The last thing I remember was the sensation of falling, the ground rushing up to meet me, before everything went black. I have no idea how long I was unconscious, but what happened next shattered everything I thought I knew about reality. Suddenly, I found myself floating above my own body. It was an indescribable sensation. I felt weightless, free from any pain or discomfort. I looked down and saw my physical body lying motionless on the kitchen floor. Panic set in. I thought I was dead. I tried to scream, to call out for help, but no sound escaped my lips. Gradually, however, a profound sense of calm began to wash over me, as if I were being enveloped by a soft, comforting light. I examined myself, or rather this ethereal version of myself, and was surprised by what I saw. My spiritual body, if I can call it that, emitted a soft, gentle glow. The strangest part was that I had a sort of luminous tail, like a human comet drifting through the space of my own home. Driven by a curiosity that overcame my initial fear, I decided to explore this new reality. I quickly discovered that I could move simply by thinking about it. I floated effortlessly through the apartment walls as if they didn't exist, feeling an incredible sense of freedom. I left the building and found myself hovering over the city. The nightlights glittered below, but something was different. I could see auras around the people on the streets, vibrant colors that seemed to mirror their emotional states. It felt as though I could sense the very energy of the city itself, pulsing all around me. As I drifted through this strange and wondrous environment, I began to notice other entities around me. Some seemed lost, confused, wandering aimlessly, while others radiated peace and serenity. It dawned on me that I was seeing souls, some who had recently passed, others who appeared to have been there for quite some time. One soul, in particular, caught my attention, an elderly woman with a deeply sorrowful expression. I felt an overwhelming compassion for her, and somehow, without words, we communicated. It wasn't a conversation in the usual sense, but rather a transmission of thoughts and emotions. I understood that she had recently died and was struggling to accept her passing. Guided by an instinct I couldn't fully explain, I helped her find her way. A bright light appeared before her, and she smiled gratefully before disappearing into it. This experience left me in awe. I had just witnessed and participated in something far beyond the scope of normal human understanding. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a world of possibilities and connections I never knew existed. But this was only the beginning. What happened next would completely change my understanding of life, death, and the purpose of our existence. As I continued to float through what seemed to be a spiritual realm, something in the distance caught my eye. It was a brilliant light, more intense than anything I had ever seen. Driven by an irresistible curiosity, I moved toward the light. As I drew closer, shapes began to emerge within it, gradually revealing an entire city. But this was no ordinary city. It was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The buildings appeared to be made of a crystalline material that emitted a soft, radiant light of their own. The colors were more vibrant and vivid than anything I had ever seen, unlike anything in the physical world. To him on the bench, my voice tinged with both awe and curiosity. He looked at me with those wise, ancient eyes, and his smile deepened. "I am someone who has walked many paths before you," he replied, his tone gentle and calming, like a whisper carried on the wind. "I am a guide, a teacher, a friend. You may think of me as an elder, here to help you understand what you have seen and what you are yet to learn." As we sat there in that serene garden, surrounded by flowers that seemed to pulse with their own inner light, I felt a deep sense of calm wash over me. It was as if the presence of this man, this guide, brought with it an unspoken promise of understanding and clarity. The garden itself seemed alive with a quiet, soothing energy, and I could feel it resonating within me, easing the confusion and questions that had been swirling in my mind. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as I looked around at the tranquil beauty surrounding us. "This," he said, spreading his hands to encompass the garden, "is a place of reflection, a space where souls come to find peace, to contemplate their journeys and the lessons they have learned. It is a sanctuary for those who seek to understand the deeper truths of existence." I nodded, absorbing his words. There was something profoundly comforting about this place, as if it held the answers to questions I had not yet asked. The air was filled with the soft fragrance of the flowers, and the grass beneath my feet felt as soft as silk. Everything here seemed to be infused with a quiet, almost sacred energy. The elder turned to me, his expression kind yet serious. "Ezekiel," he began, "you have been given a glimpse of the greater reality that lies beyond the physical world. The city you visited is a place of learning, of healing, a realm where souls gather to grow and to understand the infinite mysteries of the universe. But your journey does not end there." I felt a shiver run down my spine at his words, a mixture of anticipation and a slight apprehension. "What more is there?" I asked, feeling like a student eager to learn from a master. "There is always more," he said softly, his gaze meeting mine with a depth that seemed to peer into my very soul. "Life is a journey, Ezekiel, one that does not end with death but continues on in ways that are beyond human comprehension. The knowledge you seek, the understanding of why we are here, what our purpose is, and what lies beyond, is a path that each soul must walk. He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. I could feel the weight of them, the truth they carried. Your father, he continued, he has already started on his path, just as you are now beginning yours. The connection you feel with him is not severed by death, it is simply transformed. He is with you still, guiding you in ways you may not fully comprehend. I felt a lump form in my throat at the mention of my father, and tears welled up in my eyes. But why did he have to go? I asked, my voice cracking with the emotion I had been holding back. The elder reached out and placed a hand on my shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. Death is not an end, Ezekiel. It is a transition, a doorway to another phase of existence. Your father's journey is not over, and neither is yours. You must continue to live, to learn, and to love. That is the greatest lesson of all. His words resonated deep within me, and I felt a sense of peace begin to settle in my heart. The pain of my father's loss was still there, but it was tempered now by the understanding that he was not truly gone, that he was still a part of my life, just in a different way. We sat in silence for a while, the gentle breeze rustling the leaves of the trees around us. I felt a deep connection to this place, to this moment, and to the wise elder beside me. I knew that this experience was something I would carry with me for the rest of my life, a guiding light in the darkness of uncertainty. Finally, the elder spoke again. It is time for you to return, Ezekiel. There is still much for you to do in the physical world. But remember, you are never alone. The knowledge you have gained here will stay with you, and when the time comes, you will find your way back to this place. I nodded, understanding that my journey in this realm was coming to an end. The elder stood up and I followed suit. He smiled at me one last time, a smile filled with infinite kindness and understanding. Thank you, I whispered, feeling a profound gratitude for everything I had experienced. He simply nodded, and with that, the scene around me began to fade. The garden, the flowers, the elder, all slowly dissolved into a soft, warm light. I felt myself being gently pulled away, back towards the physical world, and before I knew it, I was waking up on the kitchen floor, the familiar surroundings of my apartment coming back into focus. But I was different. I had seen something extraordinary, something that had changed me forever. And I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with the knowledge that life is far more mysterious, far more beautiful than I had ever imagined. Standing before the door made of pure light, I felt a sense of awe and reverence wash over me. This was the same door my father had shown me in my dreams, the one he had said I would one day understand. Now, standing before it, I realized the profound significance of this moment. Everything that had happened to me, the loss of my father, the strange and wondrous journey through the celestial city, and the wisdom shared by the old man, had all led me to this point. The door seemed to beckon me, its light pulsing gently, as if alive with a consciousness of its own. I felt no fear, only a deep, almost instinctual understanding that this door represented a threshold, a passage between worlds, between different states of being. It was both an end and a beginning, a place of transformation. I reached out to touch the door, my hand trembling slightly as it came into contact with the light. Instead of feeling solid or cold, the door's surface was warm, soft, and welcoming, like the embrace of a loved one. As I touched it, I felt a wave of emotions surge through me. Love, peace, understanding, and an overwhelming sense of connection to everything and everyone I had ever known. In that moment, I knew that this door was a gateway to a higher understanding, a place where souls could transition into new phases of existence. It was the door that separated the physical world from the spiritual, the temporary from the eternal. And yet I also knew that it was not yet my time to cross this threshold. There was still more for me to do, more to learn and experience in my earthly life. I took a step back, my hand lingering on the door for just a moment longer, feeling its comforting warmth. The words of the old man echoed in my mind. You have a purpose to fulfill, an important mission on earth. What you are seeing and learning here, you must take back with you. As I stood there, gazing at the door, I realized that my journey was far from over. The door represented a future that awaited all souls, a promise of reunion and peace beyond the trials of life. but for now, my path lay in the world of the living. I had been given a glimpse of what lies beyond, a taste of the infinite love and wisdom that awaited, and it was my responsibility to carry that knowledge with me, to let it guide my actions and decisions in the life I had yet to live. With a deep breath, I turned away from the door, feeling a profound sense of purpose and clarity. The path behind me had transformed, leading me back through the ethereal landscape. The colors and shapes that had once seemed so otherworldly now felt familiar, comforting, as if they were a part of me. As I walked, the light of the door gradually dimmed behind me, but the peace and understanding it had imparted remained within me, a constant presence in my heart. I knew that I would never forget this place, this journey, and the wisdom I had gained. It would stay with me, guiding me through the challenges and joys of life, reminding me of the love and connection that transcends all. Finally, I felt myself being drawn back, the ethereal landscape around me beginning to fade as the physical world slowly came back into focus. I opened my eyes and found myself lying on the kitchen floor, the familiar surroundings of my apartment coming into view. But I was not the same. I had been changed, transformed by the experiences I had undergone. The pain of my father's loss was still there, but it was no longer overwhelming. I now understood that his journey continued, just as mine did. We were connected by bonds that could not be broken, not even by death. As I sat up, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The old man's words echoed in my mind. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. It is what connects us, guides us, and makes us grow. I knew now that my life had a deeper meaning, that I was part of something far greater than myself. And I was ready to embrace it, to live with the knowledge that I was never truly alone, that the love and wisdom I had encountered would always be with me, guiding me on my journey through life and beyond. As I sat on the couch, still reeling from the experience, Sophia's worried gaze bore into me, full of concern and curiosity. I could see the fear in her eyes, but also the deep love she had for me. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words to convey what had just happened. How could I possibly explain something so profound, so beyond normal comprehension? I mean, I've seen something incredible, I began, my voice trembling slightly. I don't even know if I can put it into words, but I'll try. Sophia, I was somewhere else beyond this world. It was as if I was no longer in my body. I saw things, experienced things that are difficult to describe. I met beings of light. I saw a city made of crystal, and I saw my father. Sophia's eyes widened, her grip on my hands tightening. Your father? Ezekiel, what are you saying? Are you sure you're okay? I nodded, trying to reassure her. I know it sounds unbelievable, but it felt more real than anything I've ever known. I was guided by an angel, Sophia. I saw the door to heaven, and beyond it, I saw a realm of pure love and light. My father was there, and he was happy, at peace. It was beautiful, beyond anything I could have imagined. She looked at me, her expression a mixture of shock and confusion. An angel? A city made of crystal? Ezekiel, are you sure you weren't dreaming? Maybe you hit your head when you fell. I thought the same thing at first, I replied, gently squeezing her hands. But this was different. It wasn't a dream, not in the way we understand dreams. I was fully conscious, fully aware, and the message I received was clear. I have a purpose, a mission to fulfill here on Earth. I'm supposed to share what I've learned, to bring more love and light into the world. Sophia's eyes softened, and she finally smiled, though it was tinged with sadness. You've always been special, Ezekiel. I've always known there was something extraordinary about you. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined. What are you going to do now? I paused, reflecting on the angel's words, on the vision of my father smiling at me from beyond the door. I'm going to start by living differently, I said finally. By focusing on what really matters, on love, on the connections we share, on helping others see that there's more to life than just the physical world we see every day. I want to share this experience, this knowledge, in any way I can. Maybe through writing, maybe through talking to others. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I know that this experience has changed me, and I can't ignore that. Sophia leaned in and kissed my forehead, her eyes shining with tears. I believe you, Ezekiel, and I'll be with you every step of the way, whatever you decide to do. I smiled back at her, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude and love. Thank you, Sophia. I don't know what I'd do without you. For a moment, we just sat there in silence, holding each other, letting the enormity of what had happened sink in. The kitchen around us was the same as it had always been, but everything felt different now, infused with a deeper meaning, a sense of purpose that I hadn't known before. As I held Sophia close, I felt a renewed determination growing within me. I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, that sharing what I had experienced would come with challenges and doubts, both from others and within myself. But I also knew that I had been given a gift, a glimpse into the eternal, a reminder of the power of love and the interconnectedness of all things. And with Sophia by my side, I felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. The journey was just beginning, and I was ready to take the first step. As August 2024 approached, a sense of anticipation built within me, like the quiet before a storm. The angel's words about this month had lingered in my thoughts, growing louder with each passing day. I knew something significant was on the horizon, but the details were still shrouded in mystery. The unknown can be daunting, but after everything I had experienced, I was determined to face whatever was coming with an open heart and mind. In the weeks leading up to August, I intensified my meditation practices, seeking guidance and clarity. During these moments of stillness, I felt an increasing connection to the spiritual realm, as if the veil between worlds was thinning. The fleeting glimpses I had been catching during my meditations became more vivid, more real, and with them came a profound sense of peace and purpose. It was as if the universe was preparing me for the next phase of my journey. My relationship with Sophia deepened further during this time. We spent countless hours talking about life, death, and everything in between. She had become not just my partner, but my confidant and spiritual companion. Her belief in me, even when she struggled to understand, was unwavering, and that gave me the strength to continue. We prepared together, discussing what might come and how we would handle it. Though we didn't know exactly what to expect, we knew that whatever it was, we would face it together. At work, I felt a shift too. My colleagues seemed to sense the changes within me, and many came to me for advice, not just on professional matters, but on personal and spiritual issues. It was as if people were drawn to the calm and peace I now carried with me. I found myself counseling others, helping them navigate their own fears and uncertainties. The experience of nearly dying had made me acutely aware of how precious each moment is, and I wanted to help others see that too. I continued my work at the hospice, where I felt most aligned with my mission. Each time I sat with someone nearing the end of their life, I shared the peace and love I had experienced on the other side. I listened to their fears, their regrets, and their hopes, offering comfort and reassurance. I didn't tell them what to believe or how to feel, but simply shared my story, my experience, and let them draw their own conclusions. The transformations I witnessed in those final moments, both in the dying and their loved ones, were profound. It was as if they too could sense that death was not an end, but a beautiful beginning. Writing became another outlet for me. I started documenting my experiences, not just for myself, but for others who might be seeking answers. The act of writing was cathartic, helping me to process everything that had happened and to distill the lessons I had learned. I began sharing my writings online, in blogs and forums dedicated to near-death experiences and spiritual awakening. The response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life reached out to me, sharing their own stories or simply thanking me for giving them hope. Some were grieving, others were fearful, but all of them were searching for the same thing: reassurance that there was something more, something beyond this life. As August 2024 finally arrived, the sense of anticipation reached its peak. I had done all I could to prepare physically, mentally, and spiritually. I didn't know what was coming, but I felt ready. More than that, I felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that whatever happened, it was part of a greater plan, one that I was honored to be a part of. The days of August began to unfold, each one bringing with it a heightened awareness of the world around me. I noticed things I hadn't before: the way the light filtered through the trees, the subtle energy in the air, the interconnectedness of all things. It was as if the universe was alive in a way I had never fully appreciated. and I was attuned to its rhythm. And then one day in mid-August, something happened that would change everything. It began as a normal day, but there was an undercurrent of energy that I couldn't ignore. As I went about my routine, that energy grew, building in intensity until it was almost palpable. I could feel it in the air, in the ground, in the very atoms around me. Something was coming, something big. That afternoon, as I sat in meditation, the answer came to me, not in words, but in a flood of understanding, a revelation so powerful that it brought tears to my eyes. I saw visions of what was to come, not just for me, but for the world. The angel's words from my near-death experience echoed in my mind, their meaning now crystal clear. The changes that were about to unfold were not just personal, they were global, cosmic. The world was on the brink of a transformation, one that would challenge everything we knew about life, death, and existence itself. When I came out of that meditation, I knew that my mission was just beginning. The journey ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges I couldn't yet foresee, but I also knew that I was not alone. I had the love and support of Sophia, the wisdom of the spiritual guides I had met, and the strength of the knowledge I had gained from my near-death experience. Whatever was coming in August 2024, I was ready. As August 2024 began, the energy around me was charged with anticipation. Each morning, I woke with a sense of excitement and apprehension, as if on the edge of something monumental. The angel's words about this month echoed in my mind, and I could feel the universe holding its breath, waiting for the first domino to fall. Sophia and I had prepared as best we could. Our sacred space, which we had carefully cultivated with love and intention, had become a sanctuary of peace and connection. It was a place where we could retreat from the world, ground ourselves, and open up to whatever might come. The small rituals we performed, lighting candles, burning sage, and meditating together, helped to anchor us in the present moment and to tune in to the subtle energies that were growing stronger each day. Our son, though young, seemed to sense the significance of the time. I would often catch him gazing up at the sky, his little face filled with wonder. It was as if he too was aware of the changes in the air, sensing something beyond his understanding, but accepting it with the innocent trust that only children have. His presence was a constant reminder of the purity and simplicity of life, and I found myself marveling at how deeply connected we all were, even in ways we couldn't fully comprehend. At work, I made arrangements to ensure I had the flexibility needed for whatever might arise. My superiors, though unaware of the full scope of what was happening, were surprisingly accommodating, allowing me the time and space I needed. It felt like everything was aligning perfectly, as if the universe itself was preparing me for what was to come. As the days of August unfolded, I began noticing small but significant changes around me. The air seemed thicker, more alive, buzzing with an energy that was both exhilarating and slightly unnerving. Colors appeared more vibrant, and there were moments when I thought I saw flashes of light at the edges of my vision, as if the veil between worlds was thinning. My dreams grew more vivid, filled with symbols and messages that I couldn't always decipher, but which left me with a deep sense of purpose and urgency. One night, in a particularly powerful dream, I saw the angel again. He didn't speak, but his smile was warm and reassuring as he pointed to a calendar showing the month of August. I awoke with a renewed sense of determination to share my story and the lessons I had learned. I accepted invitations to speak at spiritual gatherings and local churches, always focusing on the universal message of love and interconnectedness that had been revealed to me. To my surprise, many who heard my story began sharing their own experiences, stories of mystical encounters, near-death experiences, and a shared sense that something significant was on the horizon. It was as if we were all being called to prepare, to awaken, and to support one another through whatever was coming. At the end of July, I had another dream that filled me with awe and urgency. In it, I saw the Earth from space, enveloped in a soft, golden light that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. As I watched, the light intensified, spreading across the globe as if the entire planet was coming to life, awakening to a higher consciousness. I woke up with a sense of anticipation that was almost overwhelming, feeling that the world itself was on the brink of something extraordinary. On the night of July 31st, Sophia and I held a small ceremony in our sacred space. We lit candles, burned sage, and meditated together, asking for guidance and protection as we stepped into the unknown. The atmosphere was thick with expectation, but there was also a deep peace in knowing that whatever happened, we were in this together, and that we were part of something much larger than ourselves. As I got ready for bed that night, I looked out the window at the starry sky, and a shooting star streaked across the darkness, leaving a bright, luminous trail in its wake. I couldn't help but smile, taking it as a sign that we were on the right path, that everything was unfolding exactly as it was meant to. Lying down beside Sophia, my heart swelled with love and gratitude. We didn't know what August would bring, but we were ready. We were open to whatever the universe had in store, knowing that we were part of a divine plan, one that was just beginning to reveal itself. As I drifted off to sleep, a deep sense of peace washed over me. Tomorrow was the first day of August, the month the angel had spoken of, and I was ready to embrace whatever was to come. The air was thick with anticipation, but also with a quiet, profound understanding that the changes ahead were not to be feared, but embraced. This was the beginning of something new, something transformative, and I felt privileged to be a part of it. Each morning as I awoke, I felt that mix of excitement and apprehension grow stronger. Would today be the day? I didn't know, but I was ready to step into the unknown, to embrace the extraordinary, and to fulfill the mission I had been given. August had arrived, and with it, the beginning of a journey that would change everything. Your story beautifully captures a sense of spiritual awakening and anticipation. The way you've woven together the personal and the universal, the intimate experiences of your family with the broader, mysterious changes happening in the world, creates a compelling narrative that resonates with the idea of a global shift in consciousness. The descriptions of the subtle changes in your surroundings, like the vivid colors and the heightened energy in the air, effectively build an atmosphere of suspense and wonder. The connection between your near-death experience and the present events adds depth to the story, suggesting that your journey was a preparation for something even greater that is about to unfold. I also appreciate how you've portrayed the reactions of those around you, like Sophia and your son, as well as the broader community. Their responses mirror the growing awareness and introspection that seems to be spreading across the world, reinforcing the idea that this is a shared experience, not just an isolated event. The use of social media to share your story and the positive response from people around the world is a great touch. It reflects the modern way of connecting and spreading ideas, emphasizing how spiritual insights and personal stories can have a far-reaching impact. The ending, with its mix of emotions, excitement, nervousness, peace, and acceptance, captures the essence of being on the brink of something monumental. It leaves the reader with a sense of hope and readiness, echoing the sentiment that whatever comes, we are prepared to face it with love and an open heart. Overall, this narrative is powerful and inspiring, inviting others to reflect on their own lives and the potential for profound transformation. It's a story that speaks to the soul and encourages a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. Well done.